We are continuing our video series now we're moving into composition of functions. So this is part of the notes. Woo, I'm getting dizzy. We had operations and composition of functions. So I had two videos that talked about operations of functions, and then we used the difference quotient, and now we're going to talk about the composition of functions. So first thing to notice is that the notation, you can write those either way. That f of g of x is how we would say this, and that's how we would say either one, f of g of x. And so what this means is that when we're going to take the function g and put it in wherever we saw x in the function f. So let's look at this first one here. Sometimes it helps to rewrite this so that you know that this is f of g of x, so you know what goes inside what. So the function f is 3 times something minus 3. Well, that something happens to be x, or I don't know what I'm saying, g of x, which is 1 over x. So this would become 3 over x minus 3. And that would be the function. Typically, they also ask us to, given this and this, okay, they would also ask us to find the domain. And so the domain here would be the set x such that x is not equal to 0. So you can do anything else, you just can't divide by 0 because you are not Chuck Norris. All right, next one, let's pick a new color. This would be equal to, this is g of f of x, which would be 1 over x is g. So notice this right here is 1 over x. So I'm going to come along here and plug in, instead of x on the denominator, I'm going to put f. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is my function, 1 over 3x minus 3. And then my domain, which they didn't ask for, but they probably should have, is that x cannot equal 1. Oh, I forgot hang on just a second. Oop, okay, I forgot this part. X such that x is not equal to 1. The next one, okay, so on this one, you have, this becomes f of 4. Is how we write that. So either you can, option 1 is to, and probably what I would do is say, okay, well, this becomes f of, what happens when I plug in 4? Well, when I plug in 4, I have 3 times 4 minus 3, which is f of, what's 12 minus 3 is 9. And then this becomes 3 times 9, I wrote a 3, my bad. 3 times 9 minus 3, which would be equal to 27 minus 3 is 24. The other option, that's probably what I would do. But if you don't want to do it that way, you have other choices, and that is to find what's f of x, which would be 3 times x minus 3, but what we're going to plug in for x is this 3x minus 3. Cleaning that up, I get 9x minus 9 minus 3. I get 9x minus 12. So now, when this f of 4 allows me to put a 4 in here, and that's 36 minus 12, which is 24. So you can get there either way you like. I would probably choose the first method if that was the entire question. If I had some reason to need this expression here, okay, it's Friday afternoon. I'm getting a little silly. I'm sorry. If I needed that expression, then I would do it that way. Like if they asked for that first, and then I just plug in 4. Either way works. Either way is great. Okay, let's keep going. Okay. So what we have here, a ship is traveling at 20 miles per hour parallel to a straight shoreline. The ship is 5 miles from the shore. It passes a lighthouse at noon. So then they want us to know the distance between the lighthouse and the ship as a function of d, the distance the ship has traveled since noon. So if these can be really helpful, or pretty essential to draw a picture. So a ship is traveling 20 miles per hour parallel to a straight shoreline. So here's my shoreline. Here's the lighthouse. I'm very artistic. Just kidding. Okay, that is my lighthouse. It's 5 miles from shore. It passes the lighthouse at noon. So here's the ship. I am so amazing. This distance right here, from here to here, is 5 miles. And then it says the distance from, hang on. So now it's going to keep moving in this direction. So we want to know how far is it from the lighthouse. So notice we've got a nice little right triangle. So they're saying it's 20 miles per hour. As a function of d, the distance the ship has traveled since noon. So this distance d is how far it's traveled since noon. And so this is just Pythagorean theorem. So we have here express the distance s. That's the distance s. I was like, there's too many variables. Okay. S squared would be equal to 5 squared plus d squared. So therefore s is going to be equal to, well, the square root of, I would typically put the variable first, but you don't have to. And there we go. So when they talk about this as a function, we would say s of d. S is a function of d is equal to the square root of d squared plus 25. So d is a function of time. Okay, well, so how far did it go? This distance as a function of time would be equal to 20 miles for each hour of time. Time elapsed since noon, where maybe they should have told us where, ooh, that looks funny, where t is in hours. I don't know why that looks so funny, and I'm not going to do anything about it. Okay, so now what we have here is this is a composition of functions. We want s of d of t is what we're looking for. So we're going to come along here and say, okay, this is the square root of d. Well, d of t is now 20t squared plus 25, and that's equal to the square root of 400t squared plus 25. One little side note that I could see somebody wanting to do here is say, oh, well, that means this is 20t plus 5, and that is absolutely not true. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Oh, here's some space. If I say 3 squared plus 4 squared, you know that that is equal to 9 plus 16, which we know to be equal to 25. Well, which we also know this would be equal to 5 squared. This isn't exactly how I wanted to write this. But 3 plus 4 is 7, and 3 plus 4 is equal to 7, but that does not mean that 3 squared plus 4 squared does not equal 7 squared. Okay? So be careful that you don't, we know that with regular numbers, but sometimes we'll see something like x squared plus y squared and think, oh, that's just, the square root of that is just equal to x plus y. And that is absolutely not true. So hopefully I didn't confuse you even more. Let me know if I need to clarify that. So there's that function. I find, oh, sorry. Okay, I should read more clearly. This goes here. And so this one is d of t is equal to that. I wrote it up here, 20t. Okay, hopefully this makes sense to you, and I'm going to go post this so you can have access and learn to figure out what's going on. I may try and make an answer key to this, or I may give you access to my colleagues. Good luck. Go practice.